Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking, and we're going to be talking about fairies today. I have a brand new light today, so hopefully it won't die on me. It's a little bit different. I have Oliver with me today. He likes the new light and he kind of wants to, I don't know, he wants to knock it over. So if it wiggles a little, it's him. I'm going to try to put him off to the side so he doesn't interfere too much. But we're going to be talking about, stop, lay down. There we go. Good boy. We're going to be talking about fairies today. Um, so there's going to be a couple parts to this. I want to tell you my experiences with fairies, both in the 3D world and through visions of past lives. So I'm going to start with the past life. And I was just shown this recently. Um, one of my guides is my soulmate, and he showed me a lifetime that we had together. And when he first started showing this to me, I didn't realize it was a past life. He didn't warn me. I was totally confused. I didn't know what I was looking at. So what I first started seeing was, this is so hard to explain. It was like some kind of enclosure, if you will, um, that was all green. It was all like a light green, almost like leaves everywhere. And inside this enclosure were these two little spirals, sort of look like spirals, that were right next to each other. And I started getting the feelings of one of those little spirals, and it looked like two little plants, really, next to each other, right? And I realized that I was one of them, and that my soulmate was the other one. And I just remember feeling like, oh, like we're so cozy. We're like right next to each other. This is great. And so I didn't even realize this was a past life. I was just like, you're showing me something weird. I don't know. It always takes me a while to put these things together. So we're these two little spirals and we're next to each other. And we grew together so that if you were to take us apart, there's almost like a little there was like indents where we had grown around each other so that we weren't a perfect circle because we were next to each other. So we're in this like cocoon thing together. And the next thing I know, I started going up. So I just recognize I'm going up. Okay, so now I'm out of this like cocoon thing, and I see myself and I see like this dress unfold on me. It's this long dress that kind of comes, it just unfolds and opens. And it's almost like flower petals and leaves. And I saw like the spiral tendril of a vine, like a couple of those on me. And so I see that and I'm like, all right, that's okay. I'm just when you have visions, you try to be really receptive. You try not to control them. You try not to judge them. You try to just take it all in. So I'm like, okay. And I'm up high all of a sudden. I'm looking around and it's almost like I'm at the top of a ton of trees, right? Because I can see like for miles and miles the treetops that I'm like standing on. And I can see way out in the distance and it's all very beautiful. And the sun, my cat's moving, and the sun is just starting to come up and it's beautiful. And I want to make sure I tell you this correctly, so I'm checking my notes to make sure I don't say anything out of order. Yeah, so I saw flowers and plants as far as the eye could see. Seemed like we were at the top of a tree. And that's when I realized that we were small. I'm like, if we're standing at the top of this tree, and I realized what size the tree was and what size I was like, wait, I'm not a human size. I am a small size. And then I realized I had wings. And I was freaking out. so, so I was like yelling at my soulmate, oh my God, are we flower fairies? Like in real life, not in the vision. And so I look back down and there's my soulmate. He is still kind of snuggled, all curled up in the leaves in the nest or the cocoon or whatever it was that I just came out of. So he's still in there and he's like reaching up to try to like pull me back down, like, come on, let's just sleep for 5 more minutes, that kind of thing, right? And I'm like, no, 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 you have to get up, you have to see this. It's like we have to go. We have to go along all those treetops. This is important. Just felt really compelled. Um, and so he came out and we were like bees. So our job was to fly from plant to plant. And the reason that was our job is because we were like bees. We were supposed to be spreading the pollen. We were supposed to be pollinators. So that's a trip. So this is Ghana that he was showing me, the blueprinter planet. So they didn't have bees, they had flower fairies that were pollinating everything. So that's why I had that instinct of, ooh, we gotta go explore, we gotta go do this. Um, so later in the vision, he shows me um, babies. I'm like, oh, we had babies together. That's great. You know, whatever. And so he's showing me like these three babies, and they don't look like baby babies. They look like, this is going to sound weird. They kind of look like caterpillars, but their heads are like kind of more human looking, but you know, they're tiny, of course. But mostly they kind of look like caterpillars. And so I, so, and then it occurs to me, oh my God, that kind of makes sense. Like, fairies look like caterpillars before they have wings. And so at that moment, that made perfect sense to me. So he's showing me kind of what their life cycle is. So, so that image, I'm just gonna read my notes. I don't remember what I said. So that image I had of my soulmate and I were us in our cocoon together. That the very first scene that I was shown was us in our cocoon together, waiting to emerge as fairies for the first time. Fairies that will be partnered together are placed together in their cocoon by their parents. And when they emerge, their partner is right there waiting. So we were little caterpillars, and they were like, oh, these two belong together. And so they stuck us into this little cocoon, and we grew together. And you're supposed to pop out and be like, it's like, this is what I learned later as we talked about it more. It's it's supposed to be like, you know, baby ducks. You know how baby ducks, and I think this is with other animals too, but ducks are the only one I know of. When they see their mother, they're born. It's like the first person they see, which is supposed to be their mother. That's the person they imprint on, where they're like, "You are my mother. You're going to take care of me. I'm going to follow you." Right? So there's that instinctual imprinting thing going on. So what I learned is like that is what it's supposed to be with fairies. You're supposed to emerge out of your little cocoon thing together at the same time. You look at each other in the eyes, it imprints. You know that that is your partner, and you go do your fairy thing and you live your life. So I was super excited when I was shown this life because I was like, "Oh." I mean, it's funny, I didn't care a thing about fairies before I saw this, but once I saw it and I was with my soulmate, I was like, "Yes, this is amazing. I'm a romantic. I love this lifetime." I'm sorry, I'm touching my mic. This is wonderful. Um, but that wasn't the whole story of what happened in that lifetime. So I got to see the whole story. So what actually happened, so that beginning part happened where I got out and I was really excited, and he was like, "No, no, no, let's just sleep." And I was like, "No, no, no, we gotta go, we gotta go." So I'm so excited to go. He finally comes up and we both just go. And what I learned is that we didn't look at each other long enough. So we didn't imprint on each other. But we don't know this because we don't know that's a thing. That's just something instinctual that's supposed to happen, right? So we didn't look at each other long enough. So I'm going along the treetops and I'm like, oh, and there's like another fairy that's like coming up at the same time. Like she's emerging from her little spot. So I reach my hands out and I pull her up. And, you know, whatever, no big deal. But I didn't really look at her either. So I look over at my soulmate, and he has pulled somebody up too, and he is looking at her, and she is looking at him, and they are looking into each other's eyes, and they are like smitten with each other. And so I go over to him, and I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's go. Come on, we gotta go." And I don't exist. He is like this fairy, her. So then it starts turning into a thing. So then her partner, who is a male, starts emerging too, right? And so he's emerging. He's like, "Wait, why is my partner looking at this other guy?" And I'm like, "Hey, my partner, we need to go. Like, what do you do?" And so there's like this chaos because our our partner's partnered with somebody else, and we don't even know what to do with it. So so that happened. And the crazy thing is that my guides were showing me this because apparently it was a really traumatic lifetime for me. And it doesn't sound that traumatic, but I saw like the aftermath of my life. And basically, I was really, really screwed over because in the fairy society, you have your partner and you do everything with your partner. Everything. That's your person. You go work with them every day, and then you're gonna make little caterpillars with them, and that is your person forever and ever, right? So I didn't have him. And the problem is that it's not like a society now where, oh, you don't have this one person. Okay, well, you can just like go find another person, right? No. Like you're conditioned that that is like the only person you want, and everyone else is already partnered up with their person. And so it was almost like I lost my place in the entire society. Um, so it was like really devastating for me. Um, but yeah, so it ended up being kind of like a sad thing. And this happens a lot with my guides. They'll show me something where I'm just like, this is so beautiful. This is amazing. And then they'll tell me the actual story. And I'm like, oh, why did you even show this to me? I could have lived my whole life without knowing these horrible things. Um, but it's all for a purpose. It's to release trauma. So they showed it to me, and it did upset me. I legitimately cried super hard about it in this body, in this life. Um, so that was a bummer. But it is what it is, right? And let me tell you, let's keep with the fairy theme. So that's my fairy lifetime that I know about, and it's cool because we get a little backstory on the history of fairies and fairies on Gana. So it's awesome for that reason. Um, in the 3D world in here, I saw a fairy once, and I was like, I don't know, it was probably a couple no, I take it back, it was more than a couple months ago. I think it was November of last year. I was in my kitchen and just with my eyes open like a normal person doing whatever in the kitchen, and I looked up and I saw this white light that went, "Doo," and then it just disappeared. And immediately I was like, "Oh, that had to be a fairy," because it just the movement, right? So I asked Metatron and he said it was one, and I got really excited because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I saw a fairy." And I wanted to like tell my sister, I was like texting her, and he was like, "No, no, 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 no. The fairy does not, they're very private. They don't want you to talk about them." Of course, I'm talking about them now, and it was cool. You know what? I actually technically Okay, I actually technically didn't ask if I could tell the whole wide world, but there was a point where it was okay for me to tell my sister about it, so I figured it'd be okay to do this, and Metatron is saying yes. Um, but originally they were very private and like, "No, don't talk about me." And I don't know what you guys know about fairies. I know very little. What I do know is that fairies are just like humans, where you might get a sweet and wonderful fairy, or you might get a really angry aggressive fairy, so you don't necessarily wanna anger them. I don't know what they're capable of. They're tiny, but I wouldn't trust them. So the fairy said not to share, so I didn't share for the longest time, and then when I could, I did. Um, but yeah, so the fairy ended up being one of my youngest daughter's guides. So that's kinda cool. Both of my kids are magical. Both of them have Merlin as a guide. I technically don't have Merlin as a guide. He just visits me because so many of you have Merlin as a guide. Um, but yeah, so both my kids have Merlin as a guide, and The little one has a fairy, so that's pretty neat. Um, Speaking of Merlin, since we're on the topic, if you feel like you are connected to Merlin, or if you feel like you want to be more connected to Merlin, on my website, we now have a Merlin activation. A Merlin activation. So, this is gonna, if you are interested, this would line up your energy with Merlin's. It's a two-step process, but it would allow you to connect with him more, to communicate with him more. If you are channeling, you'd be able to do that. Any abilities that you have currently, you'd be able to tap into those to communicate with him, whether it be, clairvoyance or clairaudience or whatever it is that you have available to you currently. Um, so if you're interested, we do have a Merlin activation on the website, and I can put the website information in the description. And we also are going to, if by the time this video posts, either we will have it or we will have it within a few days of this video posting, and that is a fairy activation. So the same concept where we are aligning you to their energy so that you can interact with them more, because that's what's really going on in the spiritual space right now. Is all of the guides, all of the energies are really stepping forward and really wanting to take advantage of everyone starting to open up their gifts and starting to be aware of them and starting to have an interest in them. So they're all stepping forward wanting to be connected to their people. So fairy activation, Merlin activation, if you're interested. There are many other activations on there as well that you could check out also. Um, Another thing I want to do for you guys, this is kind of mischievous of me, but I was kind of feeling it. So I was feeling like maybe we should do something magical with fairies today. Maybe we should take a crystal grid and try to make a fairy portal. I don't know. I mean, we can do anything we want to do, right? So I figure between me, you, Merlin, Crystal Grid, I think we can make a fairy portal. So my thought was we can I can create the grid that will make a fairy portal. So anyone who is watching that portion of the video, anyone who is wanting maybe to have some fairy activity in their home, I can set up this grid so that anyone who's willing to take on the energies can have a fairy portal in their home. Or if you want it outside your home, you could indicate that as well, um, so that maybe you can see a little fairy floating by because it's a trip. Um, but I don't know. I just felt like something that we should do to just play around with. Why not? We can. Let's have some fun today. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what I'm gonna do for this crystal grid, and I will show you guys what I have put together. Okay. All right, everybody. So this is our crystal grid to create a fairy portal. The way this is going to work, if you are, of course, if you are watching this, so if you are interested in receiving this portal, you're just going to be open to receiving these energies. You can even say that you want to receive these energies, and that is sufficient. If you don't want to receive these energies, you don't have to do anything. Just your natural resistance while watching this is sufficient to not receive a fairy portal. But if you are excited about a fairy portal, then let's get that going. So I have the crystal grid set up. It is activated with the energy of Merlin and any other guides who came to assist me for that portion. I have some Amanda Ellis sprays that I'm going to be using. She does have I might get the name wrong. I believe it might be like a woodland portal spray, something to that effect. It's basically to create a portal for nature spirits. So she does have a spray specific to that. I do not have that specific spray, but what I do have is Merlin in my ear. So he let me know the three sprays that he wanted me to use, and we're going to use them in a particular order. So, of course, the very first spray we're going to use is the Merlin spray. So, this is going to help open up this portal's magic. I'm gonna let that go down. This one down. The second one I have, interesting his choices. Sunrise, New Dawn. Spray that one. And the final one is kind of the earthiest spray that I have. This is Archangel Sandalphon, and this is a bronze spray. It's Earth Star Energy Spray, which is it's the chakra that is below your physical feet that connects you to the earth. And so makes sense that Merlin wants to kind of call in the energies of the earth into this one. So now we have all three of those sprays. So this guy is fully activated. I'm going to just go over a little bit of information with you. So fairy guides, this can be for any type of fairy that you're asking to bring through your portal. I'm going to ask that only fairies that are either your guide or fairies that are helpful and approved by Metatron or Merlin come through these portals, and I'm getting validation that that is the case. Perfect. I just don't want you guys to get a bunch of fairies that are like knocking things over in your kitchen. So I just want to be clear on what we're asking for. So this doesn't have to necessarily be for a flower fairy. It could be any kind of fairy. Fairies in general, I had to look this up, guys. I am not a fairy expert. I know some of you probably are close to being a fairy expert and you know a heck of a lot more about this than I do. But for those of you who are not as familiar, so fairies can help you with teaching you lessons. So they can help you with caring for the earth, caring for the plants, caring for the animals, keeping the old ways alive, healing, reckless abandon, skill in music or art, and protecting the sacred. So, this is a very magical, very connected to the earth guide. I know that really resonates strongly with a lot of you. So, if you are ready for your fairy portal, if you haven't said it already, go ahead and just acknowledge that yes, you would like to have a portal set up. You can even dictate where it is. You could be like, hey, I want this portal in my bedroom or in my garden, or I want one in my bedroom and in my garden. So go ahead and just acknowledge where you want them, how many you want, or if you're not sure, you can just ask Merlin to place them wherever is going to be best for you, and he can do that as well. So that is everything. I think I'm going to actually post this one on the website in case somebody wants to come across it later and just open up a bunch of portals of fairies because I mean, come on. We need more nature spirits. We need more fairies. We need more of everything that's magical in this world right now. So I'll put it on the website. It's orangelightenergy.com. So either you can, if you want, you could download the photo or you could just look at it. And I'll put a little description on there so people know what to do. But you don't even need to stare at this necessarily for a very long time. What we've done in this video is more than sufficient. So, congratulations to all of you who now have fairy portals going on. If you notice anything, even if you notice something a couple weeks from now, a month from now, whatever, put a comment on this video. I would love to hear anybody who sees a fairy with their own eyes, who maybe experiences things moving around, anybody who has a dream or a vision about a fairy or can feel, because a lot of you guys have that sensory input. Anyone who can feel a fairy around you, I would love to hear your experiences. So please post those on YouTube on under the video, and that way I can experience that with you, and then also anyone else who reads the comment. All right, everybody, this is all I have for you today. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.